Hi, and welcome to our set review for March of the Machine limited cards. Me and Trumpetman are going to look at green commons and uncommons right now, and we're going to do it in the order of cards that we agree about the most. And as we progress with the review, we're going to start disagreeing ever so slightly, and let's see where it leads us to. So the first card we have is Seed of Hope. Green, for an instant, mill two cards. You may put a permanent card from among the milled cards into your hand. You gain 2 life. We gave it both D minus,
Should have been an F, I think.
probably.
This card is terrible.
I mean, the fact that you don't have any guarantee of getting anything unless you build a deck exclusively made out of permanents and this is your only non-permanent spell is a bit of a knock against it.
I think, it's a story spotlight. So we just had respect for the game. So we said, Seed of Hope, you can have a D minus or
And they
respect
did
it.
they did ran really badly if that's the story spotlight that they selected.
Yeah. All right. Next, we have Herbology Instructor. It's 1 in a green for a 1/3 Tree Folk Druid. It's uncommon. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. You can pay 6 and a fraction black to transform it only at sorcery speed. It becomes Malady Invoker. It's a 3/3, and when this creature transforms into the Invoker, target creature an opponent controls gets -0, -X until end of turn, where X is Malady Invoker's power. That's a lot of mana to transform this. But you know what? 2 mana for the 1/3, you get some life, it sits around, and then eventually it comes and kills something, and it's a 3/3, kind of setting up a 2-for-1 is pretty nice. Also, if you can get some counters on it or something, eventually it can kill actually bigger things too when it transforms. So it does a lot of nice little things. It's not busted. Normally removal is going to get you kind of into the B range, but we acknowledge this thing's kind of clunky. And so we said, hey, C plus, but it does have some power here.
Yeah, I think one thing in favor of it is that probably this type of green deck will want to get to 6 mana. So
Yep.
Overgrown Pest, 2 and a green for a 2/2 pest. Shockingly, pest is a pest. When Overgrown Pest enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a land or a double-faced card from among them and put that card in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library to in random order. We both gave it a C plus because it is a C plus. It's a 3 mana 2/2, which is not great as a stat line, but it draws you a card probably 90 something percent of the time. Also, most of the time it will draw you a land, but on rare occasions it will draw you an actual spell, which is just great, which means that the card is good both in early game and in late game. And yeah,
Do
I
you
think you
think
agree.
it's the best pest because it's OP?
I think it's best because it just grew slightly more than other ones. It woke up earlier, it worked harder, and it grew more, and that therefore it's a C plus, unlike other pests that are just probably D minuses.
Yeah, fantastic. Next, we have Sandstalker Moloch. It's 1 green for a 4/2 lizard at uncommon. It has flash, and when it enters the battlefield, if an opponent casts a blue and or black spell this turn, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them, put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. So 4/2 flash for 3, already pretty decent. Again, like kind of 60% of the decks. This one, it doesn't matter if it's, what cards your opponent is playing. This one you could actually main deck pretty reasonably, and some of the time you just get an extra card off your 4/2. That seems pretty fantastic. And then the rest of the time, 4/2s always, I think, underperform because you're like, wow, that's really strong, but it just trades with whatever. But sometimes your opponent doesn't have good blocks for it, especially because as flash, you sneak in the 4 damage the first time. So we said C plus, you're not always getting the card. Obviously, if you did, it'd be better than that. But the fact that you sometimes get a card means it's not like a C minus, which it might be otherwise.
Yeah, also, I mean, you can ambush a 4 toughness creature.
Yeah.
Which is not a terrible fail state for that card.
No, not at all.
Serpent Blade Assailant, 2 and a green for a 2/1 elf warrior with backup 1. It has Death Touch. So you can play it as a 3/2 Death Toucher. Not very attractive, but you can play it as a 2/1 Death Toucher that pumps something until end of turn, maybe makes it so that it will kill a battle unless blocked, but if it gets blocked, it eats the thing that it blocks efficiently. So I gave it a C. You gave it a C. I think it's like a solid creature at common. Nothing super exciting, but something very decent altogether.
Yeah, it's the one that you like literally always want to back up because 3/2 death touch is so much worse than putting the counter somewhere and having the 2/1 death touch. All right, Converter Beast. 3 and a green for 0/1 Friction Beast. A little overcosted for a 0/1. But it comes in the battlefield and incubates 5. So actually, it's got the 5/5 just around the corner. And so we said, hey, 5/5 is very big. We like that, but it comes at the price of paying some mana. So that's why it gets a C minus. You got to pay some mana, but if you can, ever blink it or keep replaying it or doing all these cool things, that's pretty nice too. And yeah, that's a Converter Beast.
Yeah, it's also like has some mild counter synergies if you have any kind of counter cards. I think that mainly it's to be blinked, really.
It's like Malcator at common.
Sort of. Invasion of Zendikar. Now I get to read the invasions and waste my voice on it. 3 and a green for a siege with 3 defense, which is very little. When Invasion of Zendikar enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them into the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. So that's 4 mana for an effect that we normally pay 4 mana for, which is great. Because the rest is gravy. And the gravy, in this case, is when it gets defeated, it turns into a 4/4 Vigilant Haste creature. As long as it is on the battlefield, it is a land in addition to its other types, and it taps for 1 mana of any color. So it's a 4/4 that can attack, then can be used for mana. Also, weirdly enough, 2 removal spells cannot target it because they only target non-land permanents, which is something that you might keep in mind. We both gave it a B because this card looks just amazing.
It's busted. It's like, are we too low on this card?
Maybe.
Maybe this card should be a B plus. I don't know. This card is like insane.
It also allows you splashing random things.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, there's so many gold cards in this set. So all of a sudden, like, wee.
Yeah, but even think about it. Like, you play a red-green battle deck. You want to attack battles. Here is a battle that you want to attack. Also, it allows you to play off-color battles because it will splash you the colors that you can. You'll be able to cast those red and blue battles or red and green or red and white battles, for example. It's just great.
It's
fantastic
insane.
card.
Yeah, really good. All right, not so good. We got Ravenous Sailback, 4 and a green for a 3/4 dinosaur. Kind of small for a dinosaur. It's uncommon, and when it enters, choose one. It can gain haste until end of turn, or destroy target artifact or enchantment. So kind of like think the joke of this card is you can kill the Phyrexians that are coming in, and maybe if they have like a the 5/5 one, that would be pretty good. But most of the time, if they don't have that, then you're getting a 4 mana 3/4 haste, which is pretty underwhelming. But anytime it actually kills a meaningful artifact or enchantment, this card is really quite good. So it kind of ranges from like, I don't know, a D plus to like a B minus based on like what it's killing or what's happening with it. And so for that reason, we landed in the middle with a C. Maybe it's a C plus, but we said, hey, C for you, Ravenous Sailback. Good going.
Yeah, I think it's a useful thing to have in best of 1. That's basically it. Tangled Skyline. 4 and a green for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life and incubate 5. Phyrexians you control have reach. We both gave it C+. This is the Honey Mammoth. Don't be fooled by anything else. It enters the battlefield, gains you 5 life. It makes a 5/5 for 7 mana. So it's a 7 mana Honey Mammoth. Plus some additional options. Again, this card plus the 4 mana one that makes a 5/5 incubate creature are the cards that I want to pair with the blink white common. Because this one, especially, if you blink it, you gain 5 life, you get another 5/5. It's a great way of using that kind of card. I give it a C plus because I think that in a deck that wants to play a longer game and maybe feeling a bit weary of losing life, this is just the perfect card that you want to have at that time. You can play it earlier than Honey Mammoth in terms of life gain, and slightly later you get the creature. Oh no, you get the creature exactly on the same turn as you would get with Honey Mammoth. So I think it's just really good.
Yeah, just really good card. And I kind of think like again, like the shrine angle of combining them all together. But and the 5 life buys you time to flip it. So that's pretty important.
True.
All right, we got Wildwood Escort next. 4 and a green for a 3/3 elf warrior. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature or battle card from your graveyard to your hand. If Wildwood Escort would die, exile it instead. So pretty nice common Gravedigger here. And it can bring back battles too. 3/3 is meaningful, so it's incredibly easy to get a 2-for-1 off of this card. The only thing holding it back from an even higher grade is that it is a little bit on the expensive side, 5 mana. But C plus for that, like just really solid card.
Yeah, I mean, it's great with all those land cycling cards that you can cycle them to get to the 5 mana, bring them back, and then you can cast them while this one buys you time. I'm only disappointed that it doesn't have Fox as a creature type. You really think that this escort would be so strong if not for the Fox that it's riding on? On foot, it would be a
Unlikely.
1/1.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, great card. I would play it, and again, I would try to pair it with the land cycling cards to make sure that I have something in the graveyard and I have mana to cast it. Here we start already with the cards that we slightly disagree on. Arachnoid Adaptation, green for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains reach until end of turn. Untap it. I gave it a C. You gave it a C plus. I think I will agree with you. I love this kind of spinneret effect. Kills a flyer or kills a bigger creature because +2/+2 is actually a lot for 1 mana. It's very frequently going to play, especially in the early format, as a Doomlay for 1 mana.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's why I gave it a C plus.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was I was thinking very long about giving it a C plus, and I decided against it. But now I see that you gave it a C plus. I'm jealous that you did it and I did.
All right, we got the old Placid Rottentail. It's a single green for a 1/1 fungus rabbit. It has been infected if you watch Last of Us. And it has vigilance and has 2 and a green. You can exile it from your graveyard, put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature, activate only as a sorcery. So a 1 mana 1/1 in a color that doesn't really care about sacrifice, but eventually you can put 2 counters on something. That part's nice for our green white counters deck. I just don't know how much I care about like the 1/1 up front. I guess if you could like mill it or discard it or do something for value, but that's not really what the set's about. Anyways, this card is weird, and I can see how it could be good, but I think it's in the wrong colors, and so for that reason, I gave it a D plus.
I think it's in the right colors. It's like a 1 drop that attacks something. You play
Does
it
it?
in the
It's a
counter.
1/1.
Yeah, but it's a 1 drop. There's not so many 1 drops, so it will give 2 damage, I guess, or something.
Yeah, that's
If you
true.
order play. Later, it will block something and turn itself into beautiful counters. I probably would exclusively play it if I have counter synergies anyway. And if I have counter synergies, well, I can put counters on it as well, and it becomes like a 3/3 vigilance, which is decent with all the backup things
True.
that I'm having.
True. If you can pump it up, the vigilance becomes relevant. It's kind of like all the small creatures with like trample. It's always funny, but if you can do something to make it work, then that's kind of the shtick of it.
But that's why I gave it C minus. I think that it's going to be useful in some decks. And again, I like my counter
Well,
synergies.
I always underrate 1 drops, even you know. So I think you might be right on it. We'll see.
My turn.
I think so.
Iridescent Blade Master. 1 and a green for a 2/2 elf warrior. Now I'm reading it. There's so many elves. Maybe this invasion that kills a non-elf creature is absolutely rubbish because it doesn't kill any elf.
I don't think you have to worry about this one.
No, I don't have to. I don't have to worry about this one. It's 3 and a green. It has an ability of getting +2/+2 until end of turn. It's a 2/2 for 2. I give it a D plus. You give it a C minus.
Yeah,
I
that's a D
think that
plus. It's bad. I'm wrong.
I think the only case where it's good is when you have this 1 drop that gives you 2 mana to use an ability, and then it becomes actually quite threatening.
Then you're tapping your 1 drop and paying 2 mana to give this +2/+2.
Still good. Also, you have Zirda. Maybe with Zirda, it's good as the companion.
Yeah, I don't know why I gave this a C minus. I think this is the exact. Well, okay, this is the reason why. Short tangent. I've been playing Magic for a long time. This used to be like 2 mana 2/2 with upside. I'm in, and no, that's just in the D range now. So we need more.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, next we have Streetwise Negotiator, 1 and green for an O2 Cat Citizen uncommon. It has backup 1, and it says this creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So for 2 mana, you effectively get a 3/3, which is pretty sweet, or you get a 2 mana 2/2 that gives a counter somewhere else. Maybe it gets an even bigger boost if it has big butt for a turn. But a 2 mana 2/2 that puts a counter somewhere else is pretty broken, and also a 2 mana 3/3 is also pretty good too. So I said C plus, you said B minus. One of us is right. We'll see how it plays out, but regardless, like this is just a stat monster. It's really good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they land up when we actually normalize the data from the set and see. I like the 2 mana 3/3 in the format where early advantage can be converted into extra advantage because of the battles. But I think that this is one of those backup creatures that you want to back themselves up,
Yeah.
basically. A cameo of the Whispered Hopes. 2 and a green for a 1/1 spirit. If one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a permanent you control, that many +1/+1/+1/+1 counters are put on that permanent instead. So hardened scales effect. And it has a tap, add X mana of any one color, where X is Kami of Whispered Hope's power. So you gave it a C, I gave it a C plus. I love my counter synergies. You love them less. It might be some sort of a win more card, but I like it because even if it's not a win more card, it has some kind of mana fixing, mana boosting ability. You can ramp into 5 quite early. If you put a counter on it, it becomes a 3/3, so it gives 3 mana, which can open a whole can of interesting abilities. That's why I gave it a C plus, sort of optimistically.
Okay, yeah, I could go C plus on it. I just think like those two abilities are like kind of weird together, where it's like, yes, I get the joke that you can pump itself to then get more mana. But most of the time it's like you're trying to pump your board and then randomly give some mana. Extra mana is nice. I mean, I'll say that, but I don't think this card's like that much more insane than the common ramp spell in green, which we'll see in a bit. The enchantment. And so this card I probably should rate a little higher, but also I think the fact that both those exist means if you care about like the mana fixing this card, you got to care much more about the counters, which I think that's where you're coming from on it. Next up, we have War Historian, 2 and a green for a 3/3 human monk. It has reach and it has indestructible as long as it attacked a battle this turn. I said this was a C. You said C plus. It's going to be pretty annoying to play against this card. Like they play a battle and they just keep attacking you until that battle flips. So that is pretty frustrating. And so I guess I can sort of see how that's going to play out. Where if you have enough battles, this thing just attacks until you flip it. So your opponent's just not going to block. So you get to flip all your battles until you have a 4 toughness creature. Yeah, that's annoying. Also, it kind of has secret reach, which I guess I kind of was discounting. That's really good at protecting your battles. And I guess the whole history here is that they know about battles because they're from Kamigawa. So that's flavor win.
That's
Uh,
cool.
yeah, maybe C plus actually could be reasonable. Because it
Yeah.
just keeps going until like your opponent can't just be like, well, I'll just not block this turn.
Yeah, they might just say, okay, I'll let you flip that battle. But that's a win for you.
Yeah, so for common, common getting indestructible every turn potentially is just kind of weird and strange and powerful. I guess I probably just underrated it. Okay, yeah, let's do C plus. I like it.
Yeah, a couple of minor synergies with it is that your bite and fight spells are much more secure if you play them post combat and it has already indestructible, or during combat and it already has indestructible. You know that you can play it safely, and that's something that is reassuring.
Hmm. Just big.
Chomping Kavu. 3 and a green for a Kavu. It's 3/3. It's got backup 1. Um, this creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, which is ironic that Chomping Kavu cannot be chomped. Um, you gave it a B minus. I gave it a C plus.
I think it's a 4/4/4 with huge upside, so I think that's kind of messed up.
Yeah, it can be. It also can be 4 mana. I kill you because all your creatures are too small to block the thing that I needed to push through. But yeah,
Exactly.
I think that the floor of 4/4 that is hard to block for a reasonable cost because it only has 1 green, and normally those things have double green in their cost. That's pretty good. I gave it a C plus. You gave it a B minus.
I mean, you're the counter guy, So
That's true.
it's really good in green white.
That's true. Yeah, maybe it is a B1 minus. I just
Well, like
like
if you saw this and that war historian card, I'm just gonna take like this every time. That's all.
imagine putting that on the war historian.
Whew. Why not both, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can't chump the war historian. You have to put a real thing, and my war historian is indestructible 4/4. Deal
Chomp,
with it.
chomp, chomp.
But yeah, it's a great card. I think we both agree with it. I think yeah, I'm split between C plus
I
and B
think I'm
minus.
taking it over the Vanquish the Week. Pick one, pack one. So that's maybe why.
Well, clearly because it's immune to it.
Well, yes, it wins most of the time. Yeah. Actually, no. It still has a win this creature. It still goes on the stack. So,
Oh yeah,
they have an opening. All right. Fertilid's Favor, 3 and a green for an instant. Common. Target player searches their library for a basic land card, puts it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffles. Put 2+1/+1 counters on up to one target artifact or creature. Weird card. It's like instant speed, mana fixing, combat trick, ramp stuff. I think if you're in the market for trying to splash, you could do worse than a Fertilid's Favor because you're everything ever in deck is going to be putting some random creatures in it anyways because you just got to make sure you're protecting those battles. So you have your war historian, they're like chilling out. It's like you can't attack me because I got some reach, and then they're like, aha, but I pump my creature, and they go to attack you, and you're like, aha, I Fertilid's Favor, and now you have a 5/5 war historian, and you went and got your land, and you're happy, and you're ramping, and life's good. That's pretty optimistic. So that's why I gave this a D plus. But I can see it being a reasonable combat trick. Um, Normally this type of effect, like I don't like paying 4 mana for even to perpetual 2 counter tricks. But getting the land out of it sort of means it almost costs 3 because you're sort of discounting your next play as well. And the splashes is nice. And you could also, your opponent puts their crazy card on the top of their deck, and you're like, okay, you go search your library for a land to shuffle, and then I get my counters. That's a pretty bad use case, but it's there.
yeah. I do like that they put the target player searches clause on it so that it can be blown up by removing the target. You don't get the land.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I think that I'm in for that card in my deck if I'm splashing, and I don't think I will play it if I'm not splashing unless
I think
I'm
that's fair. Yeah.
ramping into something insane. But
And it's sort of like the fail case, right? Because we'd much rather have other more reliable ways to splash versus this random like combat tricky thing. But like you said, it's never going to fail, right? Because you always get the land.
yeah,
So that's the important thing.
that is a good part of that card. Let's see. This card is also gonna be interesting because I can imagine that this format turns into something when this is going to be actually actively good. When you can dump the counters on some kind of a 1/3 creature that now is becoming a roadblock that they cannot pass, and at the same time you're building up to your late game plan that is going to overtake the game, and then you might be very much interested in it.
Have you considered the dream curve though, real fast? Since we're talking about these things, you can put your little kami thing you like. Turn 3
Mhm,
kami. Turn 4 play this. Put 3+1/+1 counters on it. Tap
mhm.
it for 4 mana. I mean, you can just you have what
Yeah.
9-10 mana on
Wait.
turn
Tap it
5.
to 4 mana to play a second Fertilid's Favor.
You could just play Ulamog turn 5 off of this
My
uncommon.
God. Okay, yeah, you you,
Whew.
you sold me. I'm pumping it to D plus, easy.
Yeah, A minus for both.
Notwald Hermit is a 3 and a green 4/4 troll. 5 and Phyrexian blue transform Notwald Hermit, activate only as a sorcery, and it transforms into Chrome Host Hulk. Whenever Chrome Host Hulk attacks, up to one other target creature has base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn. I gave it a B minus. You gave it a C plus. I gave it a B minus because I think that the baseline of a 4/4/4/4 is decent, considering the upside. The upside being you have a deck with this and bunch of smaller creatures. You can attack for 10. It's just lots of stats. Also, it can attack with a couple of those uh, incubate tokens, which will become like 7/7 or 8/8 when they attack together with it. One shot, but keyword big. It will eat a whole chunk of opponent's life if they cannot take care of it, and if they can take care of it, and if they cannot, then they are up for the World of Pain next turn.
Yeah, I mostly agree. I'm only slightly lower because It kind of has the problem with the white and red flip card from like 10 years ago, where the backside they kind of just needed to deal with this card itself. Like if you attack with this and another creature, sure, you pump it this turn, they can take a bunch of damage or they could chump that. But if they could like, you flip this and you attack and they double block it or whatever, you've spent all your mana already to make the attack. So maybe you can't even attack that turn because they can just double block it. So you have to wait a whole another turn and then maybe do something. So it kind of has less openings than I think it looks like in terms of just like good attacks. But I'll admit, like the card is powerful. Like there's going to be games where I flip it, and your opponent's like, "Yep, you got me," and that's it.
Well, yeah. I mean, 4/4/4 is just still strong enough that
Absolutely,
any
yeah, it's a
upside
good
on that
card.
kind of
It's a good
ability is
card.
yeah.
Then we have the Bonded Herd Beast, 4 and a green for a 4/5 beast at common. You can pay 4 and a Phyrexian red to transform it at sorcery speed. And then on the backside, it's the Plated Kiln Beast. Ooh, Phyrexian Beast. It's a 7/5 menace. It's kind of weird because it's a 4/5 on the front and 7/5 in the back, so it's not getting that toughness boost. And the only difference is that, well, they could maybe double block it to kill it before, and now they can double block it to kill it after, which is kind of funny. But the menace makes it hard for your opponent to block. So all in all, it's like a pretty decent roadblock. And then your opponent, it's more like your opponent has to respect it, right? Because a lot of times you don't even need to flip this, but they need to hold multiple things back because they know that a 7/5 menace is a big problem. So because of that threat of activation, I was giving this a C. I think also just 5 mana 4/5 is like pretty good stats, anyways. And I don't think the backside is special or anything, but it is an option to have.
Yeah, I give slightly less. I think mainly because I don't question the strength of the card. I just question the fact that other 5 drops in green are slightly stronger.
Yeah, that might be true. It might be a part of that
Because I would rather
problem.
probably play the 3/3 that Grave digs me.
I think they're different cards. That's a value card, and this is a I kill you card. So like,
That's true.
yeah, probably if you're trying to attack your opponent, and this is like a quote unquote red green card, even though you can play it anywhere, any green deck. I think in your red green like beatdown decks, you're gonna much rather just have these to like, kill your opponent, because it's like this is the Furnace Strider of the set, and then you know I don't know a good comparison to one actually for a value card. They didn't exist, but you get the idea.
True. Okay, here we have Timberland Ancient, 4 green for a 6/5 tree folk. It has reach, it has trample, it has forest cycling too. I give it a C plus, you give it a C. I think, it's keyword big. 5 toughness is a house in this format. Reach and trample means that A, it stabilizes you, B, it is going to be hard to jump. Also, again, small combo with the 3/3 that brings creature from the grave because you can cycle it, get a forest, play the Gravedigger, return it, replay it, and you're happy times.
Yeah, our Colossal Dreadmaw has reach now, which is kind of nice. The forest cycling is nice. All that seems good. It might be closer to C plus, definitely. Like I do like this card more than the 4/5 we just looked at. So there is that. Like if I'm calling both a C, I usually would prefer this. But again, it's nothing fancy. I think we do, by the way, I think we just have a ton of reach because the whole idea is protecting your battles. So the most obvious way to attack battles is putting Windrakes in your deck. And then so they're like, what if we put 12 Windrakes in the set, but then give everything reach? So that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely an interesting one to navigate in terms of drafting and building your deck.
Then we have Atrax's Fall next. 1 and a green for a sorcery. It's common and it says destroy target artifact, battle, enchantment, or creature with flying. So kind of more reach. I give this a C minus, and you gave this a D. I just think there are so many creatures with flying that you want to deal with that maybe it's still playable some of the time. There's enough of the enchantment and like not artifact build arounds, but enough enchantment build arounds or like maybe some big Phyrexians that it's worth having this in your card. I think in best of one, I think you can main deck one of these and it'll be okay most of the time. You don't really want to use it to destroy a battle to flip it because again, it's using a card to flip a battle. Usually not what you want to do, but if nothing else is going on and the flipping the battle would give you a huge advantage, then
It won't flip it if you destroy it. You can destroy
oh
opponents' battles. If you destroy it, it
oh
goes to the graveyard. So that's one thing I
oh
wanted to say. You can't destroy your own battle and flip it. You can destroy opponent's battle to prevent them from flipping it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad we had this talk.
It has to get damage reduction to 0 in counters to flip it, and this one destroys it without removing the counters. That's
Okay, well, I don't think that really changed my card evaluation that much because I was
yeah.
thinking that's like the backup to it. But you could destroy opposing battles right before, like if you can't really protect it, and it's getting low on counters but not quite dead, that could be good too. But
Yeah.
mostly just, I mean, it hits enough things that I think it's
Incubate tokens
playable.
are a quite good target as a
Yeah,
failsafe for that.
yeah.
But still, I mean, I'm always worried about those cards because the fact that I have a target for it doesn't mean that it's a good target on many occasions. So I'm maybe can pump it to D plus, but I wouldn't go higher than that.
Yeah, for sure. It's not anything to go crazy over.
Okay, Cosmic Hunger. 1 and a green instant. A target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to another target creature, planeswalker, or battle. You give it a C, I give it a B minus. So quite a substantial difference in evaluation. I think that this is a really strong removal in the set where removal is going to be quite important, especially in green that does not have that much of the removal. Fact that it can also deal with the battle is pretty useful for me because I can imagine situations when I'm having the Zendikar battle, which is already good for me, and I'm killing it with my 3/3, flipping it. I have a hasty 4/4 now with vigilance and extra mana. I would probably do that kind of a play.
Yeah, and the fact that you could try to flip a battle instant speed to like then ambush
End of
something
turn, yeah.
could let you do like multiple things. It does open you up to a reasonable amount of risk to do that kind of play, but sometimes it's worth it. I just put like fight and bite spells in general a little bit lower because I think there is some inherent risk to them, and also you need to get on board first. But looking at the set, even with just all the green creatures, they're all just like chunkier than the rest of the set. So I think for the most part, this is just going to kill whatever you want because we've seen a lot of like 4 power creatures, so that's pretty good. So that probably does get me to at least C plus range. I don't think I can quite go B minus on it with you.
Maybe I'm
Um,
optimistic there, but also
but
like good
but it
thing
is a
with yeah.
necessary. You want one in every green deck, so
Oh
that's
yeah,
true.
definitely. I think that one extra thing is that if we agree that backup is such a good mechanic, this hoses it pretty well because you can do it in response to targeting with the backup,
Oh yeah, for sure.
and then the creature is small, so probably you will be able to kill it, and it
Yeah,
stops good
instant
things from
speed
happening.
interaction is so good in this format. I mean, also that's why we were mentioning that blue bounce spell. Like it's so good for that, like against all these different things.
But okay, I think that
Yeah, yeah,
we probably can agree that this is
it's a good card.
good
C
card. Yeah,
plus or B minus. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Vengeant Earth. 1 and a green for an instant at common. Target creature or land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature with haste in addition to its other types until end of turn. It must be blocked this turn if able. Um, I did miss the target creature part when I first read this, so that does change my evaluation, I think, a little bit about it because ideally on turn 3 you could play this to hit your land, make it so your opponent has to block, but now all of a sudden it doesn't. It's not really a 3 mana play anymore, and it gives you a lot more control, especially if you can pump like a Phyrexian incubator thing because it has all the counters too. So making your opponent block that. Maybe you can set up some things as well. I don't think it's much better than I gave it credit for, but the word creature is pretty important on this. So probably more like C minus. Um,
Yeah, I'm going to be
yeah.
quite interested in how this card plays out because stats are good on it. I mean, the stats in terms of like 4/4, changing land to 4/4 when you need it to get extra attacker and engage one blocker if you want to either go lethal or flip a battle, and that's important for you. Instant speed is also pretty useful, and I think that the fact that it has some synergies with incubators is neat. C, I don't know. I put optimistically C. I'm not going to be surprised if it plays more like a C minus or even lower than that, but we'll see. I don't think it's going to be much higher than C. That's for sure. I put it at absolute max that I thought it could get. Portent Tracker, 1 and a green. Creature, Setter, Scout, 1/1. Tap and tap target land. Tap Choose target battle. If an opponent protects it, remove a defense counter from it. Otherwise, put a defense counter on it. Activate only as a sorcery. I put it as a D. You put it as a C plus. So quite a big difference. I think that 1/1 is insignificant enough as a body that I'm not happy about it. Yes, it ramps you, and yes, it in long games it will kill battles or protect yours. But I still don't think this is the thing that I want to be playing in my deck.
Yeah, I don't really care about the battle part. I mean, that is nice, and it does something when you no longer need the mana ramp. But I just think mana ramping in 2023 is so much better than it used to be because the cards scale so much faster. It's part of the reason why I gave that red green battle such a high grade way back when. But I think also you just playing a 4-drop on turn 3 is going to be great because it means you're basically on the play no matter what. And you know, it also depends kind of how good curving like 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop is in the set. If you can play a 2-drop and skip, like if you can play this as your 2-drop because your 2-drop wasn't going to be that great anyways, then suddenly this is great because the 4s and 5s look pretty good to me. Plus, you want extra mana to flip your cards and do all these other things. So I could see it sort of securing that spot for the decks, and then eventually, yeah, you have kind of the like pick away at battle mode with the card. So that's why I'm like super high on the card itself. Maybe C plus is ambitious, but I think there's a huge difference between ramping your mana for like as a 2-drop versus like a 3-drop.
That's definitely true.
That's
But
all.
also, I mean, I'm judging it through the prism of the what was the Kaldheim elves that was a 2/2 that had similar ability, but only for snowlands. And that card I liked because the 2/2 was a body and the 1/1 is not, and that's why I dropped it. I think D maybe is excessive. Maybe it's a D plus C minus or something.
Yeah, it's probably the truth, as most things is like in the middle somewhere for us.
Mm.
But yeah, I do think this is a good card. Is it me? Wary Thespian, 1 and a green for a cat druid at common. It is a 3/1, and when it enters the battlefield or dies, surveil 1. If we think about 2 mana 3/1s, that's kind of like a D plus card, and that's what you gave it. I gave it a C. I think being able to surveil once over the course of the game twice is quite a bit better. Maybe it's only like a C minus because of that, but it kind of smooths your draws early, helps you find a land or hopefully like a 3-drop when you need it. You just get that one extra immediate boost, and it's very aggressive. Now it doesn't really play with the themes of the set, which is kind of a little bit worrisome about it. And 3/1 just literally trades with everything, but I could sort of see like either you want the 2 mana 1/1 creature to help ramp, or you want the 3/1 because you're beating down super hard, and you probably don't want both those cards in the same deck. Yeah. So Wary Thespian. I don't know. I said C. Maybe it's a C minus.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just don't see like much of a synergy with the surveil and green. That's the main reason why I give it a D
Yeah, it
plus.
doesn't have synergy. It's definitely true.
So that was one knock against it. But if you want to fix your draws to be more aggressive, maybe that's the way to do it. Tandem takedown, 1 green for an instant. Up to 2 target creatures you control each get +1/+0 until end of turn. They each deal damage equal to their power to another target creature, planeswalker, or battle. You gave it a C plus. I gave it a B. Possibly I should have given it a B minus. But if I gave a B minus to the 2 mana version of it that only involves 1 creature and doesn't pump it, I think paying 1 extra green to have 2 creatures team up and killing something potentially really big, also making combat better, I think is worth it.
Yeah, I just didn't get to the B range because I think it's hard to make this ever be a 2-for-1. Sometimes it'll happen where like you attack with your, 3/4, and your opponent blocks with their 3/4, and you're like, aha, now my 3/4 is a 4/4, and we're also killing your other thing that attacked me. That's going to happen some games, and so that's going to be really great. But I don't think this card is like anywhere near Clear Shot, which we're seeing right now in Sir being like a super good card that basically always 2-for-1s. And so it's kind of a hard to cast fight spell. So honestly, like for me, this card is about as good as the cheaper one, right? Because yes, you're not like teaming up with it. This will basically always kill what you want, but it is more expensive, and it does have some upside. But I feel like it's just not going to happen that often.
Okay, fair.
Crystal Carapace is next. 3 and a green for a enchantment aura. It enchants a creature. Gives the creature +3/+3 and has ward 2 and has cycling 2. So for 4 mana, +3/+3 and ward 2, kind of protects itself, has cycling 2. I gave it a D+. That's probably ambitious. I probably won't play this card very often. It is kind of nice that it cycles, and then sometimes, if it is worth having the +3/+3 on a creature, that's pretty fantastic. But it's probably closer to a D. You gave it a D-.
Yeah, I gave it a D-. I'm not gonna play this card, and or maybe once just to see how it's going. But I think it's risky to play auras in this format because you can get pretty big blow-ups out of that. Cycling is a nice failsafe, but do I want to play a card just because it has colorless cycling? I don't think so.
Yeah, the card is probably mana too expensive to really actually be playable.
Yeah, maybe. Right, we have Storm the Seed Core. Best art of the set, I guess. 2 green, sorcery. Distribute 4+1/+1 counters among up to 4 target creatures you control. Creatures you control gain vigilance and trample until end of turn. You gave it a C+, I gave it a B. I think it's an overrun. You think it's not as good as overrun. I will tell, I guess.
4 counters is a lot, right? Like, if
The
you
fact
have
that
2
you can
creatures in
distribute
play,
them, the fact
yeah,
that you can distribute them as you want is going to do a lot to the combat math. The fact that they gain vigilance on top of the trample is going to change quite a lot as well. I think that this card, like if you are playing a curve out deck, is going to end games very efficiently.
it's
4 mana.
basically travel preparations with upside, right? Where you could stack it however you want, and then sometimes you just pump them all, and that's great too. Like, give 4 different things +1/+1 and attack with everything. So the fact that it's like travel preparations / +4/+4 aura / mini overrun, the fact that it's all 3 of those cards does mean that this card has to be in the B range. I don't know if it's quite at the B level, because when you do eggs and you're all in one basket, even if you split it like 2 and 2, if they ever do bounce one of those or kill one of them, you do lose a lot of the card's strength. And then later in the game, how good is giving +1/+1 counters? Like, it's not really overrun at that point. It's much closer to a flexible aura, if that makes sense,
Potentially.
than not.
I'm also
Or,
keeping in the back of my mind, I'm keeping the +1/+1 counter
well,
synergy.
let's think about this. We talked about the green white siege card way back when, which just puts +1/+1 counter on each of your creatures, and then it gives you a really good creature on the backside. This card can't be better than that, right?
I think it can be because if you have 2 creatures, this one is much better.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. How far ahead are you getting? Like, a lot of times you're just like, you're putting a couple counters somewhere. I guess you're always going to put the counters in a way so that your opponent can't have profitable blocks that turn. So I guess that's kind of true. Okay, it's probably a B-.
Okay, well, yeah. I think I still keep it on the B because I do love my counter synergies as well. So yeah.
Okay, we have Invasion of Morgana next. 4 and a green for a battle at uncommon. When enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. It has 6 defense, which is a lot. The backside is Primordial Plasm. It's an ooze. It's a 4/4. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature gets +2/+2 and loses all abilities until end of turn. Again, I kind of stuck to my heuristic here. It might be not quite on that level where it's a siege that helps itself flip. Getting the counter and killing something is nice because you're getting that tangible ongoing benefit. Hopefully, killing the blocker. It is expensive enough where you're getting to the state of the game where your opponent might have some mana up, and so they could maybe interact with this in some way. And so it's not really a reliable removal spell. So I gave it a B-. That might be a little ambitious because maybe too much can go wrong with it, or you also need a creature in play that's big enough for it to do anything. And 6 defense is a lot. Yeah, I can bump this down to C+. You were going all the way down to C. I think I do like it better than that, but it's an
Yeah,
interesting one.
I mainly put it on C because of the 6 defense. When I think that attacking, put uh, drowning 6 damage
That is
into
a lot of
this
life. Yeah,
is probably you better attacking face, and then the ooze is interesting in a way because
but it
it
gives
can.
back that damage pretty fast, right? the ooze.
Yeah, it can make something slightly bigger, or it can actually
It's
remove a
just a
blocker
6/6,
that is
right?
like, you have a couple of
Yeah.
flyers, you can remove a flyer by giving their creature +2/+2 and
Yeah, no
losing
reach for
reach.
you, right? Everything has
Exactly.
reach.
But yeah, maybe it is a C plus. I think that it's like 1 mana more expensive. The usual fight spell
Then you
that
want
gives
to
a plus
pay.
one plus
Yeah.
one counter. Yeah. So maybe it's slightly better.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there.
Can it remove the pacifism effects? I'm not going into layers because I have no idea how that works, but probably not. Because you remove it, but then the enchantment at the next possible situation will give it back to the creature. So that's a question from the chat.
Yeah, let's not go into layers.
So also like Bolt the Burp, you say that hunt the weak that makes a body, but it doesn't necessarily make the body because you have to deal 6 damage to it to make the body, and that's the problem that I see for that card. Okay, we have Copper Host Crusher, 6 green, Phyrexian Bear Rhino, 8/8, Trample, Hexproof. Simple, efficient. I give it a D because I think 8 mana is a lot.
It is a lot, yeah. But it's also an 8/8 trample hexproof, which is huge.
That's true.
I gave it a C minus. Now the biggest enemy of this card is there's some little death touch creatures in the set, so that's pretty sad. You're like, I've done it. 8/8 trample hexproof. And they're like, I have a 1/1 death touch.
Still goes through 7, but yeah. I mean, yeah, if you can land it, you're probably in a good situation in that particular game.
Oh, I thought this card had Convoke.
No,
That
it
would
does
change the
not.
card. Oh, this card sucks. Man, I'm not doing well with the there's too many words on magic cards, man. Okay,
There's
yeah, this
literally
card,
2 words on this card.
yeah, but there's all the flavor text and everything else, and there's all the other cards fatigued me. Yeah, this card's a D. You're right. You're right.
Okay.
Doesn't it make sense to have Convoke? It costs 8 mana.
It does. It does make sense. It's not red or blue. That's probably why.
Okay, I don't understand. I guess the trampler hexproof I thought was a different keyword. Okay. That's pretty funny.
Your
Okay,
card.
Blight and Burgeoning. 2 and a green. It's an enchantment aura, a chance of land. When it enters the battlefield, incubate 2, and whenever the enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional 1 mana of any color. This was kind of what I was referencing with the Kami earlier that adds mana. I think this card is worse than the Kami because it doesn't have the counter synergies, but you get to incubate 2, so you get a 2/2 later on. I thought the Kami was a C or C plus. I thought this card is almost the same card, honestly. It doesn't have, a ton of synergies, but if you're looking to fix your mana, this card's kind of what you're looking for. So I gave it a C. In the splishy splash decks, you can ramp out some crazy 5-drop that's 2 or 3 colors, or three colors, after that. You thought, hey, it's a D.
You can also play it on turn 4 and just activate the incubate thing instantly.
Yeah, it's a lot like Weirding Wood in Sir, where you get the clue and crack it right away. They have kind of similar play patterns. Instead of clue, you get a 2/2.
But I gave it a D. I don't see myself playing it a lot. That's mainly why.
It's
I think
probably
that
my type of card.
I usually like those in a way. I like the one in Kaltheim. I played it probably too much to the cost of my gems. I just think that this format is going to be all about creatures on board, and this one doesn't do just enough with the 2/2.
Sure. I agree. The 2/2 part of this card is pretty weak.
Like, think about it. Like, I know it's not the same, but the 4 mana instant one, it gives +2/+2 stats on the board for you
No,
as
come
well.
on. This is better than that.
Depends on the situation. If you have like good blocking creature to make it better blocking creature, I might be in for the combat trick rather than something that they can see from miles and it's just a 2/2 that can become quickly
I
insignificant.
think. Well, also it's going to depend how good are the rares that are all the colors, because there's a lot of them, and how good are the gain lands going to be.
I guess we'll
The
have to
dual
wait for
lands,
the rare set review.
because the better all that stuff is, the better this is.
That's true.
And vice versa.
There is a bunch of free colored cards that are probably worth doing stuff to make sure that you can play them, especially in sealed, I would guess, but also in draft. Okay. Cards green, and we have Urn of Godfire. Clearly something went wrong in the slide design. That's not green if you are there, listeners. I think that we can do green together with the artifacts because there's
Yeah.
only few of those. Um, so the first one of the artifacts, not green, is called Urn of Godfire. It's 1 mana. It has 2 mana to add 1 mana of any color, so mana filtering, or 6 and a tap, sacrifice Urn of Godfire, destroy target creature or enchantment. I gave it a D, you gave it a D. Um, you might be playing this in a deck where you didn't get any removal and you want something to deal with threats, or you can use it as maybe a sideboard card against certain type of decks.
Yep. Next, we have Kite Sail, two generic mana, artifact equipment. It's common. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has flying, and you can equip 2. I gave it a D plus. You gave it a D plus. Boy, there's a lot of reach creatures, so I'm a little worried about the Kite Sail, anyways. And it's pretty clunky and expensive, but sometimes it helps you attack a battle. I don't think this is what you should be doing, though.
Yeah, maybe when you got like some kind of really dopey green red deck that doesn't have
Yep.
ways of overcoming board stalls, that's the way you want to overcome your board
They all
stalls.
just overcome them on their own, though, but they're all huge.
Yeah, that's true. Then we have Flywheel Racer. It's a 2 mana vehicle. It's a 3/2 with vigilance. It has an ability tap, add 1 mana of any color, activated only if Flywheel Racer is a creature, and it has crew cost of 1. You gave it a C, I gave it a C minus. I think we both agree it's the Jaspera Sentinel of this format. Good part of it is that once you crew it, you might as well swing for 3 if there is no blocks. So that's an option you can have, and then still you can tap it after attacks to get some mana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 mana,
Um,
Jaspera Sentinel instead of 1. That's definitely worse, but
yeah, that's definitely worse. And also sometimes you will have those 0/1 creatures that you can't use to crew it, which is a shame. But in general, yeah, I think that if you want it, you want it, and you know it because you are playing a splashy deck with some top end and maybe U-shaped curve when you have a bunch of 1/1s and a bunch of 6/6s, and you want to use the flywheel racer to connect those two ends of the spectrum quicker.
yeah, I agree. I think it's deck specific. It's a 2 mana 3/2, but slow decks want it. It's pretty funny. Okay, Halo Hopper is next. It's a little origami frog, kind of cute. 3 colorless mana or 3 generic mana for a 3/2 artifact creature frog. It's a common, and this one has Convoke. Okay, so no trample or hexproof on this one. 3 mana 3/2. I don't like. Why do I need to Convoke out a 3/2? It doesn't make any sense. 3 mana 3/2 is just bad, so I gave it a D. You gave it D
Yeah, I
minus.
give it a D minus. Also, Origami Frog, Halo. What is it, Capenna or Kamigawa? Because I'm getting lost there. Halo Hopper must be Capenna, no?
Yeah, it must be Cabana.
But Origami must be Kamigawa. So I don't know. I'm not impressed by this
Maybe,
card.
well, maybe one of the crime bosses were into it. They when they're not, making deals, they're folding paper on the side.
I see maybe some very niche uses of this card in decks that want to double spell, and I don't see that very frequently.
Wait, hold on. We have an answer. Sorry to get sidetracked here, but it says the flavor text folded by an imaginative child, animated by a mischievous kami, and blessed by an otherworldly angel. So is it the angel from
Ah,
Katana, but we're on Kamigawa? That's my
okay.
final
I
answer.
guess yeah. I guess that's true.
Definitely relevant to the stream.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that you will find fringe uses for it, and you will
Mhm.
know it when you need it.
I think so.
Skittering Surveyor, 3 colorless, 1/2 artifact creature construct. When Skittering Surveyor enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. Gave it a C plus. I gave it a C. I think that there's a memory of this card from Dominaria. I don't think it's Dominaria anymore, and I think that the 1/2 body is just not good enough. That's why I gave it a C. I see a utility of that card when you're playing multicolor decks.
Yeah, I think the big difference on this card is I think it was
Sorry.
just a generally good card back on Dominaria, and now I think you really need to be playing like at least 3 colors for this card to be worth picking.
And yeah,
But
my bet was that people are going to play it incorrectly a lot. That's what will dump the win rate of it.
yeah, so I'll probably never be able to play the card because people are going to pick it for their 2-color deck, like remembering how good it was. But I do think that if you want to be splashing, it's a pretty good way to do that because even if the body's not that relevant, it still in a way buys you time to set it up. But it's not really, I think, that much better at doing that than the green enchantment we were looking at with the ramping on the land. So yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I have the same. It's like maybe my pet hatred, but I have the same thing with Skittering Surveyor as I do have with Prophetic Prism, and I think that this is the card that is sort of a victim of success in the first printing, and often will not be as good in other formats, and people tend to forget it. That's why I gave it a lower grade. Still, C is not a bad grade at all. I mean,
Mhm.
it's solid playable, but I just don't think it will go much higher than that.
Yeah, it should probably be like a 5th or 6th pick card, and people are going to take it like third.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah. Then we have Phyrexian Archivist, 6 mana for a 4/5 Phyrexian construct. Common. It has reach. It's an
Of course,
artifact.
everything has.
Everything has reach. Our poor Cogwort Archivist, whatever, the one from Strixhaven. Now they're silencing the libraries even harder. And you pay 2 and tap it to put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. So it's still kind of the same card. This might be a blue-black gold card, kind of, because that color pair would really like the reach because the game goes longer and then you don't self-mill yourself to death. I really like a 6 mana 4/5 reach. I think that's great. I do think there's a lot of like ways to randomly hose expensive artifacts now that I think about the set. So I gave it a C minus. I think this might be a little too vulnerable to just random cards people are playing. You give it a D minus. It's probably closer to that than my C minus grade. If people can't kill this, it's quite good, but I think it's quite killable.
It will get random Phyrexian benefits maybe as well in some
Yeah.
decks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I put D minus. Maybe it's a D. I'm not interested in playing this card. I think that there is some self mill, but I don't think that the self mill is that kind of powerful that you will need to prevent yourself from decking. So that's
Yeah,
my
probably
rationale for a D
probably not.
minus. But yeah, we have the
Okay.
bunch of lands now. They're all gain lands, and I think that you graded some of them differently. I put C on every single one of them, and
Yeah,
maybe we can go through which ones you grade higher and why. Blossoming Sands, you clearly graded the same as I do. I think
yeah,
they're
there are
solid, and you should probably
C's or
play
C
1, 2 copies. Yeah.
pluses, and I gave the red white one a C minus one. That was the only difference. So I gave C plus to white black, blue black, and I think blue green maybe. Basically, any of the color pairs that I thought were like slower and splashier, I gave a C plus because you might want it more there. And then I downgraded the red white one because I think you want to be red white beatdown, so you don't really want to tap land in that deck. And the rest I gave C's. I mean, they're all kind of in the same categories.
I think you're
Just
still slamming 1 copy in every deck, no? If you have it on color.
maybe.
There's not so many like super
Yeah,
impactful
you're not
one
playing as
drops.
many one drops. That's probably true. But I think you're going to value. Well, I just don't think you like. Yes, you'll pick it up and play it in that red white deck, but I think it's just not a priority. Whereas like
Yeah.
most decks do want one actively, and then like the splishy splash decks like actively want them.
Lucius, there is this is the only cycle of lands. There is no untapped dual lands in this set, unfortunately.
They're all
And
really good though. Originally, now I don't think they're going to be as good as they were in Tarkir from their printing, but there is a lot of multicolored cards. So this is a kind of a free way to get extra colors into your
yeah,
deck, which is pretty great.
you have to keep in mind that they are not commons. They are much rarer than commons. They are half the frequency that commons you will see, because you only have 50% of it per pack. So you get one every 2 packs, and there is 10 of them. So you will open 12 dual lands per draft pod normally.
Okay, so not
And
super reliable.
so 1.2 of each one. And that's more closer to uncommon than common.
Yeah, so if you really want a splishy splash, you can't just rely on you can't just take common gain lands usually.
No, yeah, you have to prioritize them quite high as well.
Nice.
All right, well, that's the end of commons and uncommons. And yeah, what do we do? I
It's up
think
to
that
you.
Yeah, I mean it's 2:20 a.m. in here.
I'm
I
fine
might
to
I might give it a pass
delay.
because we're going to take at least 2 hours to do the
Absolutely, yeah.
rares
Probably
and
2 to 3, yeah.
mythics. Yeah.
It's
So
fewer cards,
maybe
but a lot of words.
maybe we can. Uh, I'm tomorrow. I'm driving for 6 hours and then coming back, and my mom is
So,
coming
yeah,
home.
that doesn't
So
work.
that might be tricky. Maybe we can do it on Tuesday. I'm
Tuesday.
doing the skeletons, so maybe we can move it to Wednesday to do the rares. If
Yeah, that's fine. But I can't do it until
4:30, I know.
yeah, 4:30. But we could try like at least that's not 2:30 your time. It's more like
No,
midnight.
it's midnight. Yeah, it's still painful, but we can work it out.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right.
brilliant. Well, hopefully you enjoyed our first take on the set review. I'm going to put all those videos on YouTube at some stage, maybe in the morning, but let's see how much strength I will have after the marathon today. And yeah, you can find Trumpetman at Trumpetman underscore on Twitter.
Hmm. Yep.
And obviously, if you don't still listen to 40 Card College podcast, I would highly recommend it. That's Neil's brainchild. It's one of the best limited podcasts right now that there are. I really listen to every episode. There's always interesting insights, so I highly recommend you doing that. And
And
I'm
this
doing
is
stuff here.
technically magic numbers, but if you're listening it through 40 Card College and you're not listening to the magic numbers already, definitely be listening to the magic numbers because obviously beyond set reviews, Circovitz, you always putting on amazing seminars in this style, talking the nitty gritty of limited, which I think everyone listening to my show would obviously appreciate too.
Yeah, I think that our audiences
It's
overlap quite
it's almost a
significantly.
It's almost a circle if you look at a Venn diagram.
Probably. And yeah, in a couple of days, we'll try to come back to rares and mythics and talk about more powerful cards, fewer C's, more B's and A's, and probably some F's on top of everything.
Yeah,
So
look forward
we'll
to it.
see you then.